Y'all, there's a bunch of big changes coming to Wizard101. We need to talk about this. So today's video, I'm going to be going over everything that was talked about in the most recent roundtable that Wizard101 hosted with me and other guests. And this was a roundtable that was based really around PvP. But the topics that we looked at, discussed, talked about, even got some sneak previews on upcoming updates for. These are things that affect literally everyone, even people that are interested in PvP but don't know how to start, maybe people that used to PvP. So I did link the VOD in the description if you guys want to watch the whole convo, but I also wanted to summarize it because there's some really cool takeaways. To start off, what I think is probably the most exciting thing that's upcoming in the summer update is the fact that tournaments are going to be coming back. Now, if you're a super old school player, you might remember doing tournaments for tickets. They were much more casual than ranked PvP. You would get all types of really cool rewards, like the Commander Robe, which is going to be coming back, but it's going to be reskinned for like the 5th age, basically. I think most people would agree with me that tournaments are what brought people into PvP in the past, and the fact that they don't exist really anymore, it's a huge shame. This kiosk is here. You can technically sign up. There are absolutely no rewards for it because they basically haven't done that yet. Ever since they added the blue arena tickets as a new reward system for 5th age, they haven't basically done anything with tournaments. Now we're going to be seeing tournaments that do give reward. Now I'm assuming there will be cosmetic rewards. I brought up the topic of whether we could get spell elements for tournaments, which I think would be the best reward. And though the status on that isn't clear, I do assume that it's going to be at least somewhat similar to what we used to have, which brought a lot of people into PvP. Now, there are a couple of things that they're going to be changing this time around. They're not going to be as often as basically what we've been used to if you used to do tournaments. Like, this is very often, right? You have sometimes not one, but 2 tournaments at the same time, and you basically have a new tournament for every hour for like 12 hours straight every day. They're basically going to make it, I assume, based on the data that they have available, they're going to make it so that you do tournaments during peak times. I'm going to assume that this is going to be like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. Now, based on the roundtable that was, what was said during it, basically right now, they seem to just want to start with one day, which would probably be Friday. I don't really know why. Maybe more people play on Friday. I don't know. But that is very different, right? I mean, technically, this could be something that is less accessible because, like, what if you're a type of person that always has something to do on the day that they choose to always have tournaments? So there are logistics to look at. What I really hope is that there's at least 2 to 3 tournaments every week, not 1 a week. I feel like 1 would be way too low and it wouldn't be available enough for enough people to get involved. They also brought up the idea of tournament tokens, which is basically what you would basically use to do a tournament. So I guess there would be some sort of healthy limit on participation as well. Again, these factors, I get the idea behind them, right? You want to make the tournament feel like an event. You want to make it feel like something you look forward to. You want maybe feel like something you're really signing up for. And when stuff like that's done, right, it can be very rewarding. My main concern, I think everyone can share this, is the accessibility of it, right? Is everyone that is interested in participating in a tournament, will they have the opportunity to do it, or will some people actually be left out if they make it too exclusive of a thing? While tournaments do seem to be the highlight of what's incoming, there are other things that were talked about. They are going to be nerfing drains, which is really important to talk about. Right now, the way drains are, if you do a drain and get the full value of it, meaning you're not at full HP, you do the drain, you get, the HP adds something for you. If you get the full value out of it, it does 33% more than what a death spell should be doing. And what I mean by should be is that every school has a damage per pip, and that's what justifies stats like 200 damage and 75 res and 12,000 HP, right? When you have stats like this, the reasoning behind it is that death has damage per pip on their spells that is 85. That's their number. Drains ignore this rule fully as long as you're actually, getting the HP out of it, because the net damage per pip with a full value drain is way over 85. So they're going to make it do what the solution that they're going to be doing for this is that they're going to make drains do the DPP that's expected out of that. While that's amazing news, they did say that it's not necessarily something that's going to be coming in the next update, so we might have to deal with yet another season of this. To me, that's disappointing. I'm not going to pretend I'm not disappointed by that. I think this has broken the game irreparably the past couple of seasons, and frankly, all I want is just to fight a death and not think if they hit through a weakness they're ahead. I think that's a crazy concept. In my opinion, this should be priority number 1 right after tournaments. I'm talking literally right after. I hope that this is something that we see sooner than later. I guess the good news is, if you're an optimist, is that the change is coming. We just don't know exactly when. As far as other things that were talked about, I've already made a video about this, but if you didn't know, I'll reiterate, there is going to be more shadow raiding gear, meaning not just from raids that are free to play. So this is something that will probably address some of the gear accessibility issues that a lot of people have. I don't think it'll be a perfect fix, but it might make it so that, you know, if you don't pack, like, you know, like if you have dark surges, right, like in your deck, you might actually be able to use them at the same rate as someone who runs raids. You might be able to start competing. That could be really, really cool. I've already talked about this, so I'm going to move on to the next big thing that we touched on in the roundtable, and that was PvE strats. Now, I think this was the biggest, like, you know, topic, because this is, I think, a very controversial issue. Let's define PvE strats in PvP. This is a question everybody always asks. Basically, I think, for a lack of a better term, you basically just stack a bunch of buffs, and that's all you do. Your strategy is completely based around hitting once with one big hit. There is no need for all the variety of spells that they've added. You just buff like crazy. And what's very standard procedure for, you know, PvE strats is that your side deck will be full of buffs, especially unique buffs, so you can keep spamming even though the opponent might try to remove them. This might seem kind of harmless, especially considering the way blade and trap counters are like pretty damn good, but in practice, they're kind of brain dead. They ruin PvP, in my opinion. It's just literally you versus someone's side deck spamming buffs. That's all they do. Now, I think while there was a lot of discussion around this, I don't think a real solution was reached, in the sense that, like, you know, the devs are like, yeah, this is the ideal we'll pursue. In my opinion, there's only 3 ways you can go about it. One, you need to make everything that removes blades and traps one effect better, meaning we need Banshee to remove 3 blades, we need Wyvern to remove 4 blades. I think spells that give you pips for blades and traps, like Riding and Eye of Vigilance, should also clear more than 3 if it's going to get to this point where you're just going against someone spamming buffs from side deck and literally doing nothing else. You could buff the removal items. That is one way you could go about it. I'm not genuinely sure that would fix a lot, considering how OP a side deck buff is, because you can literally discard and immediately replace it, and the main deck is where the counters tend to be. The other solution is to make it so that dual schooling is so much better that, let's say that, I don't know, let's say for example that I'm running Sun Serpent on a death, make it so that I could do way more damage than I already am, even against people that have resist, right? If I'm countering traps, I'm also doing damage and getting pips. Right now, you basically do this to get pips. That's about it. And the third option, which I still think is the best one, I think they should ban triple buffs from side deck. Do I think they should ban them from main deck? No. So if you want to go for like a super stack strategy, pack away. There's still dual blades that I'm not saying they should be banned either. What I'm very, very concerned about, though, is the fact that if they don't do this, there's nothing that ever stops someone from just spamming buffs from side deck, even if you're going against someone with counters. I think the meta revolves way too much around a deck that can counter 15 traps with life pips and 12 traps with balance pips, and with death pips you have like another, like, you know, 20. That's absolutely crazy. Like, I'm gonna be honest, there's no reason why an entire quarter of my deck needs to be dedicated to dealing with a strat that doesn't have to change based on what their opponent does. That's my 2 cents on this. I guess I don't really care as long as PvE strats do get less oppressive. They genuinely are very boring to play against. They're very unfun. I think a lot of people have seen it nowadays where it's just like, what are we doing? The one silver lining is that Myth Banshee is getting banned from PvP. This is something that makes it very easy to stack buffs and then hit through a weakness or a tower shield and get a free turn to do a big monster hit. While this is good, there are going to be side effects of this, right? Sometimes a stun is exactly what you need to do something about, like, you know, spells like Shrike. This is like an overall change, by the way. Every stun in the game is going to become no PvP. We're going to see no stun blocks. We're going to see no stuns, and we're probably going to see more Shrike. The only good thing about that, in my opinion, is that PvE strats are going to be less effective, and people that don't have access to TCs like Myth Banshee are not going to be at a disadvantage. That being said, y'all, there could still be all kinds of issues that come out of that. We'll have to see how that affects the meta. I do think in the overall timeline, getting rid of stuns is probably going to be a good thing. There are going to be schools that get nerfed, and Shrike is going to get buffed in ways that I find somewhat concerning. But yeah, if you missed the roundtable, check out the VOD below. If this is all you needed, here you go. Here's a recap. Let me know what you guys think about the future of PvP, of Wizard101. Let me know what y'all's opinions are on all of this. I look forward to reading all of y'all's comments. Thank you guys for the love. I hope this was helpful. A lot of y'all wanted me to make this video. As always, if somebody hasn't told you you're awesome today, they doing something wrong. Stay awesome. See y'all soon. And yeah.